You just remember what old Jack Burton says when the earth quakes and the poison arrows fall from the sky and the pillars of heaven shake. Yeah, Jack Burton just looks that big old storm in the eye and says, "Give me your best shot, pal. I can take it." Have you paid your dues, Jack? Yes, sir, the check is in the mail. If we're not back by dawn, call the president. Big Trouble in Little China. This is thanks to Till from Germany who sent me this Blu-ray, which is pretty damn awesome. I'll talk about the Blu-ray at the end of the video, but the movie itself, this is one of those movies I saw so many times when I was a kid. I love the dialogue. I love the action. I love the mix of action, comedy, kung fu, mysticism, some creatures in there. I love the idea of Jack Burton, played by Kurt Russell, and one of my favorite roles from him, who's sort of a John Wayne type of guy, but incompetent. And if you think about it, his buddy, played by Dennis Dunn, who also does a really good job, he's really the more competent guy. Like, Dennis Dunn is really the hero of the film. He's really the lead of the film. He's the guy that knows the places. He's the guy that knows what's going on. He's the guy whose girlfriend has been captured. He's the competent guy. He's the guy who knows how to fight. While this guy, when he tries to fight, he shoots and fucking rods knocked his ass out. He doesn't get one thing right with a knife. He's the guy that doesn't know what's going on. China is here, Mr. Burke. What the hell does that mean? China is here? I don't even know what the hell does that mean. All I know, I just saw some guy with his, wanted my truck to go through him with a light coming out of his mouth. And go on, rule the universe. Indeed. Or check it to a psych ward, whichever comes first. What? Come on, I'm supposed to listen to this shit? Does it only take Cracker Jack timing? Like, literally, this film is filled with so many fun pieces of dialogue. The cast all around work well. You got Jack Burton, played by Kurt Russell, who's a truck driver that's coming to town. Meets his buddy, Wayne, played by Dennis Dunn. They go to pick up Dennis Dunn's girlfriend, and she gets kidnapped. And that leads the both of them into this world of mysticism with this figure named Lopan, wonderfully played by James Hahn, who wants the girls with green eyes, and he wants physical, flesh. He's a ghost that wants to be, in a way, human form again, and that'll raise his power. And so they have to work with Kim Cattrall, Victor Wan, and his bunch of good guys. And on one hand, Caruso just wants to get back his truck, the Pork Chop Express, but on the other, tries to do the right thing. And Big Trouble in Little China is one of those films where I can watch this anytime and never get bored by it. You have well done martial arts sequences at a point where that wasn't the norm in America, other than maybe some Chuck Norris films, among others. But you gotta remember, this came out the summer of 1986. And yeah, again, The Karate Kid, but this was before it really became the norm to have martial arts. And this is before you had martial arts stars like Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal and more. This was a time with John Carpenter. He had done The Thing, and that flopped, and he was called a pornographer of violence. He got fired from Firestarter. So he did Starman, almost like an apology. It's a great movie, but it's like, hey, I apologize, whatever, you want me to apologize. Even, he is proud of The Thing, but it's like, oh, I better do this, otherwise I'll never get work again. And Starman worked well. It's a great movie. Jeff Bridges got an Academy Award nomination. And then that sort of eased him up into the ranks to finally get with W.D. Richter, who had, at this point, written The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai. And I think at first the story was going to be a Western, but then it was updated for modern times, which I think was the right idea. It was the best idea. And John Carpenter was a fan of those Hong Kong, like crazy, weird, over-the-top movies. And, let's have this guy in there. And I forget who at first they wanted for the Kurt Russell character, but Kurt Russell was perfect in the role. He's a lot of fun. This probably is my favorite Kurt Russell character. I love Snake Plissken. I love, Cash from Tango and Cash. But this is my favorite character of his because it's such a unique character that took guts to play, because you're supposedly the star of the movie, but yet you're the fool. You are purposely the fool of the movie, and it's cool that Kurt Russell didn't have any ego about that. And this is going to sound like a tangent, but it's really not. You know how nowadays a lot of people take a lot of stock in Rotten Tomatoes? In the fact that there was a video a long time ago my friend Mike OCP made where OCP Communications, he said that people were literally saying yes or no to movies on strictly their rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, there were actually people going, got a first rating? Okay, I'll see it. It got a rotten rating? Okay, I won't see it. If this film came out back in the day, I mean, nowadays it's changed. Now they like the film. But back then, a lot of critics did not like this film, just like The Thing. So you would have lost out on watching a cool kick-ass movie because of bullshit like that. And jumping ahead, the release of this film, from what I understand, listen to some of the features, the studio didn't understand the movie. The studio head or some of the studio heads going, man, this Jack Burton guy, he's not so good. He's not so good at what he does. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point. That's the script you guys said yes to. That's sort of the point. And I think at this time, the movies that were successful, you had Indiana Jones films. You had Rambo. Rambo 2, which came out the year before, and Commando. You had Romancing the Stone. Those are the kind of, hell, the same summer, Aliens, which I forget exactly when that came out in '86, but Big Trouble in Little China, I actually want to check real quick on the box office when that came out. It did not do well. I know Kurt Russell, by the way, I know I'm all over the place, but fuck it. And there's a new interview with Kurt Russell. One of the things he says, I wish he would have gone more into it. He says that he knew someone that was in the room of executives and told Kurt Russell when the studio buried the movie. That there was a point that the studio actually said, we're going to bury this movie. Meaning, we're not going to put much advertising into it. The trailers and TV spots are rather lame. I mean, they're okay. Like, the trailer is okay. But I remember the teaser. Maybe in retrospect they're okay, but I'm not sure about that. I know Kurt Russell doesn't really like the poster. I do disagree. I think it's a cool poster. But I guess what he meant by it, Kurt Russell wasn't a brand name, so if you have this right there, people are like, no one knows who I am. And Kurt Russell does say a funny thing on the interview. He's like, maybe that's Jeff Bridges? Maybe that's Jan Michael Vincent? Meaning that he wasn't a big star. I mean, Escape from New York was a hit, but it wasn't the Escape from New York that people talk about today. I mean, again, this was '86. This is when, when he was in films, they bombed. And Kurt Russell would talk to friends, like family members, and they would go, we haven't seen anything about this movie. No one knows this film's coming out. We can't even find it. So it's like they decided not to spend much money for advertising. They didn't spend much money to promote it. From what I understand, it seems as if the studio looked at this movie, they didn't get it. They thought they were getting Indiana Jones. They didn't. So they said, you know what? We already lost the battle. It's what you call a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you are so sure that it's going to flop, so thus you ultimately do stuff to make it flop. If you're not going to spend advertising, people don't know. Yeah, remember, this is 1986. It's not like nowadays where you have the internet and you can find every movie in like 5 minutes. I mean, you can find everything about it. This is maybe a trailer. If you go to the movies a lot, maybe a TV spot. And the TV spots do suck. Because, like, who is Jack Burton? And even Kurt Russell's like, who gives a shit? Like, who is Jack Burton? Who gives a shit? No one knows who the hell Kurt Russell is at this point. And that's from Kurt's own mouth. Like, who is Jack Burton? It's like, who fucking cares? So it was bad TV spots. Barely anyone knew that the film was coming out. And so the studio went, from what I gather, why should we spend money on advertising? Let's just cut our losses. Don't spend that much on advertising. Just release the fucking thing. And at least that's what Kurt Russell says, that there was a guy who told him, I was there in the room when they buried it, and that guy quit right after that. He says, I was in the room, that was wrong. When they did that, I quit. And John Carpenter had a lot of troubles working with them. At one point, John Carpenter, I think, mentioned they wanted him to take all the comedy out. So he did. And then it didn't work. So he put all the comedy back in. And yeah, you could tell Carpenter just did have a fun time with the studio process. That's why after this he went and did independent films like Prince of Darkness and They Live. Now, getting to the box office, this film debuted at number 12. This film, this classic movie, debuted at number 12. 12. On the 4th of July weekend. Let me go through the box office. Number 1, The Karate Kid Part 2, which had already been out for 3 weeks. Number 2, Ruthless People, which had already been out for 2 weeks. Number 3, Back to School, which had already been out for a month. Number 4, Top Gun, which had already been out for 2 months. Number 5, Little Eagles, which had been out for 3 weeks. Running Scared, number 6, which had already been out for 2 weeks. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is number 7. That had already been out for a month. And then films that debuted, Psycho 3, which is number 8. The Great Mouse Detective at number 9. About Last Night at number 10. Under the Cherry Moon debuted to bigger numbers. That's the film that Prince directed. At number 11. And Big Trouble in Little China debuted at number 12. 12. So you can't even say this was Aliens, because Aliens wasn't out yet. Aliens didn't come out till... Actually, let me check. Aliens came out... I'll get exactly here. July 18th. And this came out July 4th. So that's quite a few weeks. I mean, from 4th to the 11th. The 11th day, I mean, that's at least 2 weeks, and it debuted at number 12. It's just unfucking believable. I mean, this is a film that inspired so many folks. It inspired, I mean, the 3 storms, thunder, rain, and lightning. Guarantee you they helped inspire Raiden from Mortal Kombat. I mean, hell, I remember there was an interview with I want to say Kevin Eastman, who helped create the Ninja Turtles, I swear he said one of the inspirations he had for Casey Jones was Jack Burton. Which I could see it. Especially with Elias Koteas playing him in the 1990 movie. But I swear there was an interview, written interview, that Kevin Eastman said that. I know there's talks of a remake with The Rock. No, this doesn't need remade. Re-release the fucking movie and I'll see you in the theater. I love the way it starts with the music. I think the score is fantastic. John Carpenter and Alan Howarth, I think they did a wonderful job on the score. The Dean Cundy, who worked on DP for Carpenter films like the Halloween and The Fog and The Thing, would go on to doing films like Back to the Future, and then he worked with Spielberg. Well photographed movie of Chinatown and the underworld. These cool creatures. You got this furry creature, like it's not quite a werewolf, but I don't know what you call that creature. You have the thing, the floating thing that when it sees, Lo Pan can see. That crazy looking thing when they're down in the underworld, they're getting to Lo Pan. And you see in one shot, it comes out, grabs someone, and pulls them back. I always remember that creature, as a kid, freaking me the fuck out. I'm like, what the hell is that? It will come out no more. What? What will come out no more? Damn it. What you don't do? I have no idea. First time you ever plugged someone? This is like you try and shoot the gun at jams and then he finally shoots them. No, of course not. Having the guy with the knife and get hit one time, let's try that again. Again, thrown off, gets on a wheelchair, falling all the way back and almost falls to a damn pit. Even when he kills Lo Pan and he falls down and all those statues fall down in a domino effect. When I think Thunder finds that his master's been killed and he just sort of, I guess, self-destructs. I don't think he's going to stop. He just fucking blows up. I love it. You know, some fun fight sequences. Victor Wong, I've been a fan of him. Yeah, of course, around the same year you had Golden Child, which came out in December. And I know John Carpenter at first was approached to direct The Golden Child. That didn't happen, so he directed this movie. And I love both movies. I mean, hell, I don't know if you can... Got a Golden Child poster right there, thanks to a very nice person who sent that to me. Thank you, if you're watching. Yeah, I love The Golden Child, and I love Big Trouble in Little China, and they both came out the same year. I love that, because I love the lead characters. I love the humor. It moves at a very fast pace. It's not boring at all. I love the song at the end by the Coupe de Villes, which is a band that was John Carpenter who did the singing. Most of the singing. Also sung by Nick Castle. And then you have Tommy Lee Wallace. Those three they did the song at the end. We got big trouble in Little China. Nah. You can feel the wind is rising, baby, like an evil dream. We better run to dinner, run into the distant night. Run until they take us away. Take us away. Take us away. Big trouble in Little China. And this is going to be embarrassing, but I already embarrassed myself by trying to sing, so fuck it. Even when I was a kid to this day, anytime I watch this film, when it ends, I'm sad. And I know this sounds stupid, but when this film ends, I'm literally sad. Because I want to continue the adventures of Jack Burton and seeing those. I want to continue being in this universe, this mix of comedy and humor. And people are like, well, isn't that the same thing? It depends. some people have different... I won't go into that. But humor, action, mysticism, these characters, we really shook the pillars of heaven, didn't we, Wayne? No shit, Jack. No shit. I love these characters' back and forth rapport. I love to see what other... I know there are comic book sequels, which I haven't read. I don't know, it's just not the same. I mean, granted, that's not fair, I haven't read them, but just not the same. And there'll never be a sequel. And I know Carpenter never intended on a sequel. That's just how he wanted to end the movie. But I had so much fun. And then when it's over, I'm like, oh man. I know this sounds weird, but I always get sad. And just the dialogue. I'm looking through the trivia to see if there's anything I'm missing. But I know they threw a couple names in there. They threw some older folks like Jack Nicholson and Clint Eastwood for the main character. I'm like, that's not this movie. That's not this movie at all. And I love the t-shirt he has. I love the design of the t-shirt, the look of it. Kim Cattrall, I think, did a really good job. Really knew how to spit that dialogue out very fast, very quick. The people who played the Three Storms worked very well. They had a nice presence to them. I like the special effects for 1986. I think they hold up fine. I mean, it's decades ago. I think they're fine. You know, I think the score works well. Dennis Dunn, that's a guy that I don't know what happened to him. He disappeared. He was in Prince of Darkness with John Carpenter directing, and I think he was in some TV shows and such. But sadly, I guess he's never around. He never does interviews. He disappeared. I don't know if he just wants nothing to do with it. That's sad, because I would love to hear with Dennis Dunn his thoughts on the film, his thoughts on making the film, his thoughts on really being the hero of the film. And it's sad, but this is just an enjoyable movie. Great set pieces, very well done script. Even memorable bits that have nothing to do with action. You know, him and Dennis Dunn making the bed with the bottle. What can I say? It's all in the reflexes. The only problem I have is there was no sequel. Because it ends with the monster coming out in the back of Jack Burton's truck. And I'm like, I want to see more. I mean, I know there are comic books you can read more, but I wanted to see more. I wanted to see more. But this is, again, just an amazing movie. People are like, oh, you're praising it too much. No, this is a favorite of mine. Big Trouble in Little China is an absolute favorite of mine. And it's very quotable. Kurt Russell was perfect in the casting and just played that character so well. And it's sad the film bombed. I would love to see it in the theater. Granted, I would have been about 3 years old when that film came out, so I couldn't see it. Even if I did, I wouldn't have remembered because I was only 3 years old. But you don't get films like that today. It's got imagination, creativity. I mean, just the fact of taking the lead and the sidekick and switching them. And people didn't get that, but I watch it, it's obvious. And that was the director and Kurt Russell's intention. And just a lot of fun. And this Blu-ray is well done. I mean, you can flip it. So you have this cover. But I like the original one better. And then nice artwork on the disc. You do need a region-free Blu-ray player to play this. You do have the features from the DVD, from the older releases. You have the commentary with John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, which is a very fun commentary. You do have the interview with Richard Edlund, the deleted scenes, the music video, the trailers, the TV spots. But you do get some new stuff. You get a new interview with John Carpenter. Talk about making the film, the idea behind the film, how it was fun making the film, how, you know, dealing with the studio process, and they were a pain in the ass, and also dealing with some people in the Asian community, not the people who worked on the film, they were fine with it, but people outside making a big deal. Yeah, remember, it's a white man directing that film. And I love Carpenter's response, like, fuck them, you know. I can understand why Carpenter would be pissed off. I mean, you make a great movie like this, and The Thing, and they flop, and it's like, what more can you do? What more can you do? You did a new interview with Kurt Russell, which is cool, about him getting the job, him working with Carpenter before. You know, he's proud of the film. And again, he gets into that whole, when it's a few weeks before the film's coming out and you're not hearing a lot of press for it and not a lot of advertising for it, and how he had talked with someone who was in the room when they buried the film, and Kurt Russell goes a little bit into that. I wish he could have gone into it more. I know he didn't because he wanted to respect that guy, and so you don't have to name the guy, just go into specifically what he said. But the idea of they buried the film. You do an interview with Dean Cundy, cinematographer, interview with producer Larry Franco. This tells a little bit about working with Carpenter. Interview with stuntman Jeff Amata. Funny little story about how him and I forget who else, they actually, might have been him and Al Leon, actually met Kurt Russell again on Soldier, and just saying how nice Kurt Russell is. Like, Kurt Russell came out and greeted them and says, hey, I'm sorry, I have to get back to work. And like, no, it's okay. You gotta star in the movie. And I kind of wish the interviews were a bit more in depth, a bit longer. I felt the interviews felt a bit too short to me. And it would have been nice to hear from Dennis Dunn, Kim Cattrall, some of the people who played the Storms, James Hahn. Victor Wong unfortunately passed away. On a side note, I always thought, you know, being a Ninja Turtles fan, that Victor Wong would have been the perfect Splinter. He would have been the perfect voice for Splinter. If I think of a voice for Splinter, Victor Wong would have been him. That reminds me of another great bit in Bicholo China, when they drink the potion and they're in the elevator and Kurt Russell goes, I don't know what it is, and I'm not scared. Like, I feel like I'm invincible. But yeah, I mean, the interviews, they were cool to see because I was very curious, and it's glad to see it. And, you know, film looks great on Blu-ray. Love the cover and the side. Very colorful. Great artwork on the disc. Film looked great on Blu-ray. It was nice to at least have some new interviews with Kurt Russell and John Carpenter. They're still very proud of the film, and a few others. And it has all the features from the DVD, the 2-disc DVD that I have. So, very cool. Yeah, I don't know what more I can say. Thanks to Till, if you're watching for this. This is a great gift. And thank you guys for watching my review, and sort of just me really expressing my love for John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China. Come on, I know there's one more quote I can say. I'll just do this so I'm not... I know there's something. Because there's a lot of great quotes for this movie. And I mean, even though I've seen the film many times, it's hard to have all of them. That's another moment. You know what old Jack Burton always says at a time like this? Who? Jack Burton. Me. And yeah, that was another fun thing where they didn't go with the typical hero kissing the girl. Just someone asks, "Are you going to kiss her goodbye?" And he goes, "Nope, not for this movie." So that's the thing, is that people want to talk about how you want to do stuff different, but when you do, you get punished for it. And right, automatically being different doesn't automatically mean it's good, but this was that was that was it. Oh, of course, that one, of the son of a bitch must pay. I love that. That's one of my favorites. God, this has so many. I guess I'll go with one of the first ones. When some wild-eyed 8-foot-tall maniac grabs your neck, taps the back of your favorite head against the barroom wall, and he looks you quickly in the eye and he asks if you paid your dues, you just stare that bitch sucker right back in the eye. You remember what old Jack Burton always says at a time like that. Have you paid your dues, Jack? Yes, sir, the check is in the mail. See you guys later for another review. Take care.